you can see. Doing a update on my Blackberry Saison. What I got going on right now is I went out and I already had a heat belt, and I'm following the instructions on the Brewing Classic Styles book. He says start your fermentation out at about 68 degrees Fahrenheit, which I did, and then over the course of fermentation ramp it up to about 80. Some people say higher than that. I think that's mainly concerning the Belgian strain, because it has a tendency to fail to attenuate down. The French not so much, even at low temperatures, but the Mad Fermentationist blog basically says it does benefit from raising the temperature on the French one as well. So I went ahead and done that. I had to go out and buy a specialty thermometer. It was basically a it's one that's got a remote. So basically what I've done is I've taped the remote that goes outside your house to the side of the bucket, and then I've got the display right above it on a shelf, so I'm getting the ambient temperature and I'm getting the temperature of the fermentation bucket. And what I've done was I started off, I let it go about 3 days at 68 to 70 degrees. Took off like crazy, blew out just a little bit, and then it slowed down to a nice steady just continuous bubblage. Then on the beginning of the 4th day I put my heat belt on it, and that raised the temperature of the beer from basically 70 up to about 75. And I let it go at 75 for a couple of days, and then I took and wrapped it with a sun visor like you put on your window in your car, one of those silver ones. And I had one that's in my truck, and I don't ever use it anyway. I always just try to park in the shade if I go anywhere. So and I had some tie downs that you use to tie motorcycles down to trailers that I use to put my bike on a trailer sometimes, so I just used a couple of those, and I'll just flip it around here and let you see what it looks like. So basically it's just a sun visor. You're looking at the non-shiny side of it. It is insulated. It's basically designed to keep the sun from heating your car up, and it's pooched out here at the bottom because that's where the spigot's at. So I got one going around the bottom, one slightly below the, so basically this is where the heat belt's at. It's right in the middle. You can put your hand on it and kind of feel it's warm, and then these wraps, these ties are basically holding it around all the way. Try to show you. Basically you can see the wire coming out. That's the part that notches over your sun visor. So I got it coming out there, run back there under the table, plugged in, and it is covered up under there as well, so the bucket's completely covered. And then you just basically fold it over on the top, and then I got the blow off hose run out, and then I just put this shirt on top to help, because heat rises, in case you didn't know. Most brewers probably know something about science and the elements and so forth, but anyway, heat rises, so that helps hold the heat in. And then this big bulge right here is actually the outdoor transmitter that goes outside your house to transmit the signal to inside the house to your head unit for the thermometer. So basically the temperature on the bottom, 72, is the ambient temperature inside the house here, back here in the room. And then the one on the very top, it says 82, is the temperature that the bucket is. So it's 82. And I'm following the instructions that it's in the Brewing Classic Styles book. Start off at 68, ramp it up to 80. So I'm actually at 82, so that's a little high, but for those instructions, but some people say on up to 90, but anyway, I'm going to do 82 because that's where it's at. And then underneath it, you can see it's got the high and the low. And it's got, it was, the highest that it's been is 82, and then last night, it's when I wrapped this thing up, it was at 75, so the 75 would be the low. So anyway, that's the update on the Saison, and it's actually still bubbling. Tomorrow will be a week, but it has slowed down considerably. I'll just wait a moment. See, still bubbling along, so the yeast is still kicking. Tomorrow will be 7 days. I'm going to rack it over to secondary, and I want to do it while the yeast is still kicking a little bit. I'm going to take a gravity read and see where it's at, add the blackberry puree, the pound of honey, take another gravity reading and see how much extra sugar I'm putting in it, so I'll be able to adjust the ABV. From what I've read, this is only like a 1050 beer without the honey or the puree in it. I think that puree it ranges somewhere between like 1042 and 1065 on the sugar that's in it. Just depends on the natural sugar and the puree. So I'll just take a gravity reading after I add everything into it and see where it's at, and then adjust it. So this beer should probably going to wind up attenuating down to about somewhere between 10.000 and or 1.000 and 1.05 if I had to guess. This Saison yeast is supposed to drop it down pretty low. I'm figuring it's going to probably wind up dropping down to about 10.02, but we'll see. So anyway, that's the update. The Pooka the Elder, I'm racking it over into the keg tomorrow as well, getting it off the dry hop. It's been going for about 10 days on the dry hop, and then we'll keg it up, and I'm going to have to empty out one of my other kegs. Either the red IPA should be about empty because I've been drinking on it pretty good, or I'm going to check the stout keg and see where it's at. Now, I ain't been drinking it that much, so it's probably still got the most in it. Half the keg of the red IPA went to the competition anyway, so I'm sure that's probably the one that's the least full. And try to work on knocking that one out a little bit today. Trying to get caught up on the rest of the SJ pour beers. I got about 5 more of them to do as of today. I'm getting ready to go do another one and get those rated and done so they can announce the Southern Region winner. And good luck to everybody on that. And I will see you guys later. Cheers. Okay, we're transferring the Pooka the Elder. Pliny the Elder clone. Looks like we have dropped down to about 10.05. Seems to be this yeast's new attenuation point. We are racking off of the dry hop into the keg. As you can see, I got me a little mesh bag in there that I fixed over top of the auto siphon so it wouldn't suck any leaf particles up in there. And then that's the color. And we are down into the keg. And you can see we are at about, let's see, 80, it's 72 degrees in here. And we've been at 88 degrees all day with this thing. And I'm getting ready to, what I'm going to do is put the blackberry puree in a pot, warm it up to 90 degrees, add the 1 pound of honey, pour that into a fermenter, and then rack on top of it. And I'm going to take a gravity reading before I rack it, and then after I rack it on top of the pound of honey and blackberry puree. I'm going to combine it real gently so I don't get out oxygen into it, and then I'll take another gravity reading and see how much extra sugar I've added into it. And I'm going to heat the blackberry puree up to 90 degrees so I won't drop the temperature on my yeast or on my wort too much, because I want to hold this around somewhere between like 85 and 90 degrees for the next couple weeks while the blackberry puree and honey ferment out, so it will attenuate out and stay nice and dry on the finish. And then we'll come back when I start doing that and I'll show you. I know Polly was wanting to see me do the racking over onto the blueberry or blackberries, and so I'll show that back in a bit. Okay, we'll get the blackberry puree out of the fridge. It's fridge temp, so we'll have to heat it up. And the easiest way to do this without making a big mess, open your honey up, put the lid back on, and use this little spout to pour with. Okay, got it on our scale here, and we're looking for 1 pound. Alright, got it on grams, switch it over to pounds. Alright, we're about there. Four, 7, 8. Alright, we are on 1 pound. There's about half of it. And you can see the honey. I'll go over here to the stove. And then we'll add this blackberry puree into this and then heat it up to 90 degrees and then put it in the fermenter. And I'm not going to hold the camera while I pour this because I do not want it all over my stove. So I'll be back in a moment. Okay, we've got our honey and blackberries combined. We're up to about 76 degrees, 77. I think this thing might be on the bottom of the pot. And then basically you just want to heat it up real slow. I've got it on 3. And then just keep stirring it so you don't scorch the honey on the bottom. I stirred this in real good before I put the heat to it. It's just like treat it like you would liquid malt extract. Have a burnt taste to it and ruin your beer. So just take your time, heat it up slow, stir it in real good. And the nose on this is a real beautiful, wonderful bouquet of blackberries and honey now. Yum. So we'll just heat this up to about 95 degrees because it's going to lose some heat when you pour it out into the bucket. And then the wort's going to lose some heat too when it goes through the transfer. And then hopefully I'll be able to keep it somewhere around about mid-80s where it's already at, so it won't drop the temperature on my Saison. And then I can continue on fermenting it for a few more weeks on this before I bottle it up or keg it. So we'll put this down and then we'll come back when we're doing our racking. Alright, I'm going to unwrap this thing so I can get the probe off the side, and I'll have to unwrap it anyway so I can put this stuff back on the other fermenter. So after I get some of this peeled off, I'll show you how it's set up. Alright, we are down to the bare bones here. Basically you can just see I had it folded over at the top, and then the heat belt's about in the middle, and this is just a sun visor like you put in your car on a hot day. And I'll come back after I take a gravity reading on this thing. And there's the remote that basically goes outside your house for that thermometer. You can see this thing's already dropping down to 87. And basically what I wound up doing was just tie wrapping it on there, putting a couple pieces of tape to hold it up against her real good. Yeah, I'd say we're fermented down. We're at about 1004. I'm not sure exactly what that'll be with the gravity correction, since this is, actually I think if it's warmer it goes down because the hydrometer is calibrated to 60 degrees. So this thing's probably actually about 1002, so it's about done fermented out and it was still bubbling. So we will get this baby transferred so we don't lose so much heat, and then we'll take another gravity reading and see what it is with the honey and the blackberry puree in it. Okay, I do not open the lid when I do my transfers like this. I simply pull the hose out so it sucks a minimal amount of oxygen down in there, and it helps keep the CO2 layer on top of the other one while you're transferring. And basically here's what it looks like. That is 1 pound of honey and the blackberry puree. And now we will just simply purge out the line and rack on top. And I'm going to go get my brew paddle spoon, spray it down with some star sand, and then give this thing a gentle stir after it all gets in there. And then we'll take another reading and see where we're at on the OG, or the FG shall we say, or the second OG, however you want to say it. But we're going to have some purple beer either way. Alright, we didn't do too terribly bad. We wound up dropping down to 74, and now we're all the way back up to 83 again. So it may take it another 24 or 48 hours to get all the way back up to 85 to 88. But I'm happy. This is how much gravity we wound up gaining. You can see we're purple. This is the beer without anything in it, and we're back up to from 1004 to, so we're from 1004 to 1010 now. So we'll add that gravity in and figure out how much extra it's got, and this thing will probably wind up fermenting back down to 1004 again, or maybe even lower. So we're at 1010 now, from 1004 to 1010. Alright, we're back up to 86, just like maybe 30 minutes later, which is pretty good. Happy with that, and this thing is bubbling again. Awesome. So that is a wrap on the Blackberry Saison for at least 2 more weeks. I'm going to let it go another week or two on the fruit, and then we're going to keg that baby up. And the Pooka the Elder got put on in the keg, and it's charging up. That's pretty much my update for this week. And I will do the Azaka Centennial sometime in the next few days, and I'll put that up just as a standalone video. Check it out. Just as a FYI to everybody, the new collaboration beer between Stone, Heretic, and can't remember the other one, has Azaka in it. So it's catching on already. So I'll see you guys next week. Happy Homebrew Wednesday.